Hey guys, MC Stu here. Hope everyone's having a great day and a good weekend. Today we are going to be looking at the Alliance Temer Raider. Before we jump into it, if you have not subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate if you'd go ahead and hit that button and ring the bell. Also, take a look at becoming a member to the channel. Lots of great benefits to doing so. If you click on the join button below, you will also be able to see some of those options for joining. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. So what I have here is a disruptor build on this Alliance Raider. This Raider came from the anniversary event this year. It's a great little ship, very versatile, lots of options. Would also make a great torpedo build as well. I went ahead with the dual beam overload build, mostly due to not having all of the proper traits and things that I would need to do an effective torpedo build on my free-to-play account here. I have experimented with that on my paid account. If you're interested in seeing a torpedo build on this ship, go ahead and just throw that down in the comments, and I'll consider putting one together for you guys. So let's go ahead and jump into to the build here. We'll start off with the weapons here. First of the three-piece set from the Discovery rep is the Disruptor Wide-Angle Dual Heavy Beam Bank. This is a part of a three-piece set with the Dark Matter Torpedo and with the Lorca console. All three of these pieces come from the Discovery rep set, and it's an excellent beam bank, as well as the torpedo and the console. All of them by themselves are great. But let's go ahead and we'll take a look at the three-piece now, and then we'll look at the other two items individually as we get to them. So the two-piece is generally what I'll run, say, if I'm doing some other energy type that's not phaser, because there is a phaser version of this. I generally am going to run the two-piece set, torpedo, and console on pretty much every build, except for maybe science, but in some cases I'll work that in as well, and that's because the two-piece is very, very good. The bonus on a critical hit, you're gonna get stacking severity for 20 seconds. It refreshes every time you get that critical hit, and it's gonna stack up to 25 times. So after 25 critical hits, you're gonna have an additional 25 critical severity rating that will continue to last as long as you're getting a critical hit at least once every 20 seconds. The three-piece is going to fire a torpedo out at any target that has 50% or is below 50% health and is within basic firing range of 10 kilometers. So essentially, this three-piece set gives you almost like an experimental weapon or an Omni torpedo launcher that is going to automatically attack any enemy that is below 50% within 10 kilometers. So nice little extra there. This is really good on torpedo builds because you're boosting that kinetic damage, but it's a nice little extra set to have, or set bonus to have, when the rest of this is complementary to the build. So I wouldn't just fit this in if I were doing, say, a Tetrion build or something. I would still have the torpedo and the console, but I wouldn't force this for that three-piece set unless I was doing like a torpedo build. Then I will run this because that three-piece set is worth having, even with all the rest being torpedoes up front. Moving on, we have three of the Zot-Vosh dual beam bank disruptors. These are good weapons. I mean, you could really slot anything here. I don't know how well that the proc on these, the inherent proc on these, is working. I know that when they first came out, there were some issues with it working properly with beam overload. But the proc on these particular weapons are 2.5% chance to apply. Oh, sorry, my new monitor's farther back and everything's so small, I can't even read that word. It applies stacks of something to foes, which essentially are going to give us plus 4% bonus damage with this weapon per each of these stacks, whatever the name of that effect is. I don't know whether that's working or not. To be honest, I didn't pay close attention to see if those were stacking up during the run. But you could run any kind of disruptor up here, any flavor of that, and get the same kind of results that I'm getting. This just happened to be what I had gotten. I had opened a few boxes that I had obtained and pulled these weapons out of them. Next is the Dark Matter Torpedo, which we talked about with the Discovery 3-piece set here. This is an excellent torpedo by itself, does a good amount of damage, and it also has a ability when it hits a target, it adds a stack of dark matter dissolution, and that is going to do 150.6 physical damage every 1 second for 20 seconds. So a good amount of damage over time that you're going to get out of this torpedo. Works very well against larger targets that last longer, but even still on smaller targets that are lasting for more than a couple seconds, you're starting to get some of these damage stacks in on it. All right, so next item, we have the Colony Deflector. So pretty much my kind of go-to space set here. So we have the Colony Deflector for the critical chance and severity. We have the Competitive Engine for the extra speed boost and Tactical Bridge Officer recharge abilities. We are using a deuterium stabilized warp core, and this is here for the negative 15% weapons power cost. We're using the Tilly shield. Excellent shield. Main reason this is here is for the shield penetration or additional damage. So your weapons attacks cause enemy shields to receive, in my case, 11.5% increased damage for 10 seconds. This is based on your shield power. And I had some comments before where there were some question as to whether or not this is worth it with the way that I set my shields, which is basically as low as possible. So even at as low as possible, I'm still getting 11.5% increased damage to enemy shields. So the answer is yes, it is still worth it, even if you are somebody that is running your shield power at basically 0. It's not really at 0. It's set as low as possible, and there is a little bit of bonuses that are going in there. So basically I have, 30. It's set at 15, but I have 30 shield power, and that is getting me still 11 point... what did I say? Where is it? I'm on the wrong item. 11.5%. And just for context, let's see what that changes to if we crank it all the way up to maximum. So our shield power is almost all the way up, and with it all the way up to maximum, we're getting 20%. So it looks like it's 0. You're not going to get 0 out of this shield in terms of that extra increased damage. So at maximum, we're getting 20%, and at the minimum that I can get mine down to, why won't that come down? There we go. The minimum I can get mine down to, we're getting the 11.5. So even at that minimal shield level, power level, still more than worth having for that ability that this shield comes with. Next, in the rear, we have the House Martok Disruptor Omni weapon. This comes from a mission drop along with the console, and let's take a look at what we get from both of these. The Omni is... It's nothing special, but it's a good weapon. It's free. It's just as good as a crafted one. The console, we'll just kind of jump around here so we can look at these two together. The console is going to give us an additional 11.9 maximum hit points. It's going to give us some additional shield power, which is where some of that's coming from, as we were just discussing with the Tilly shield. It's going to give us additional engine power, which is always nice. We're going to get some extra maximum shield. Again, not a big deal for me, but we'll take it. And then it's giving us flight turn rate, which is always nice. I like to go fast and turn as quickly as possible. The main reason that we have both of these items is that the 2-piece is giving us a nice little bump to our critical severity, so 2.5%, as well as some additional accuracy for having both of these items. These items are going to come from the New Frontiers arc, and it is going to come from brush fire. The nice thing on this one here is that you can just run this through one time, because default the console is a part of the reward that you're just going to get regardless of what you pick, and then you also still have a choice. So you can run the mission once, choose the Omni, and you're going to get both of those items. So that's kind of a nice twofer there. Okay, next we are using the Soliton Wave Impeller. This came off of the year before last Ryza event, the Rising Corvette Tier 6. This is a very nice experimental weapon. Its proc works off of engine power, speed, and it has a 10% chance, in my case, the way that this ship is built, to do 10,459 radiation damage over 10 seconds, and it ignores the shields. There is a chance. What is this based on? So there's the way that they lay out the procs on these tend to end up being out of order. To target, negative 9.5 speed and turn rate for 4 seconds. This is all a part of the chance, okay? And then 100% fire cycling haste for this particular weapon, and this increases with your engine power. It's an excellent weapon. This is probably one of the best experimental weapons in game currently. For devices, I'm using the standard suite that I always do. We are using energy amplifiers for the extra bonus damage. We're using the Duranium Surplus for the extra speed boost. Kobayashi Maru, so we can call in that periodically and get the little bonuses that it fires out at us that last for a 45-second duration. And then we are using the Subspace Field Modulator. This is for the damage resist. So this is a part of survivability, a little clicky. Next, we are using the 0-point energy conductor. And this comes from the Romulan rep. Excellent console. In fact, I'm going to be doing a video probably to follow up to this, or a series of them. We're going to compare Lobby consoles and their alternatives to having them. A lot of people, when I first started playing the game, it was, here's the ones to get like this. You can get it nice and easy until you get, a Lobby console, and then you can swap it out. And over time, I found, well, why swap it out? Why not just add to it? And especially on a build like this. There's other builds where you're going to need to fit in other things because you're boosting, say, science skills, or, for torpedoes, you're trying to reduce the shared launch times or things like that. But with something like this, where this is just a raw damage output, very straightforward. I'm trying to stack all the crit I can. I end up keeping all of these where I can. If I had to prioritize, my Lobby consoles are going to come first, these three, and then, I'd start dropping these out if I had to prioritize. But if you can fit them all in, why not have them all? I mean, if this one is just, not quite as good as this one, both of them are better, right, to have together. So I continue to use most of these. If you can fit them, that's what I would do, depending on your build. If it is just a raw DPS energy output build, then that makes sense. So again, this comes from the Romulan rep. I have the 3 Lobby consoles, and I'll just hover over them slow. There's a whole video I made specifically on these 3 items. All 3 of these come from the Lobby store, and they're essentially here to build our stack critical chance and critical severity. These are must-haves at some point if you're building for DPS. These are the first items I would get out of the Lobby store. All right, and for the last engineering console, the House Martog defense configuration, we discussed that with the 2-piece with the Omni here. Next, in science slot, we have the assimilated module. Again, this is another rep item that comes from the Omega rep. Very easy to get. Both of these come at like tier 2, I believe, of the rep, or once you complete tier 1. So they're very easy to get. You can get them very quickly. This is here for, again, the stacking critical chance and severity, as well as the additional weapons power setting. So +5 for that. We are using the DPRM, and the alternative to this, and there's going to be another video. In fact, I'm going to use a lot of the footage from this video for the one I'm going to release right after this. But we're going to go and compare this to a particular alternative. And I don't know if I want to give it away right now, but watch the next video that comes after. I have a good alternative to this. Many of you that have played the game probably are aware of it, but I did some tests, and the results were pretty surprising to me. It did a lot better than I expected. So the dynamic power redistribution module, or otherwise known as the DPRM, is considered to be one of the best consoles in the game. I don't know that I take issue with that, and I'll just kind of let's talk about it for a second. It's everything about it is good, right? So plus damage resistance, plus directed energy weapon damage. The clicky is amazing. Plus 40% bonus damage, and that's all damage. That's a massive amount of bonus damage. Next, we have plus 100 bonus damage resistance rating, and then plus 500 hull regen. So it's an oh crap button, heal me instantly. And then as soon as I get above, 60%, or is that 50? 60% hull. Jesus, this monitor, it looks wonderful, but everything's so small. Maybe I'm just getting old. Once you get above, I think it's 60%, 50 or 60% hull, then that plus 40% damage comes in, and that's a massive amount. So this console is excellent. I have found, though, over time on a lot of my builds, it just doesn't quite fit, and I don't seem to suffer that much. And I think what it is the passive is okay. I mean, it's nothing special. I mean, it's Cat 1 plus, 11.3. Where this shines is if you really know what you're doing and you're clicking this as other abilities are all stacking for that alpha hit, or that string of alpha hits, and you're timing this out right, and you're getting a plus 40% bonus damage on those alpha hits. That's where this is going to be a game changer for a particular build. If you're just running through, a TFO, and you're getting to a place where, you're just like, oh, I want this extra damage, and you're just kind of clicking it nilly-willy, and you're not really stacking it up with a bunch of other abilities that you've been planning out using, you're definitely going to get extra damage out of it, but you're going to find you might feel a little disappointed. This is the best console in the game. How come I'm not doing 30, 40, 50K more DPS? It can make that happen, but you have to use it in a way to where it's going to shine. If you're just, clicking it, and, maybe beam overload is off cooldown, and, or is on cooldown, and you click it, and you didn't click it because you were dying, you clicked it because you wanted the extra boost, and you're going to get extra damage, but it's not going to, give you that groundbreaking, build-changing, performance that you're looking for. When you start mixing this in with, science stuff and even some of the torpedo stuff, I mean, it just gets insane what you can do with it. But just know that you're not going to get this console, put it on your ship, and it's going to be, just game changer. You really need to be considering how your build is put together, what its alpha strikes are, and how to use this to, complement that, because it's going to complement it like massively if you get it right in your timing of your clicks. So there is an alternative to this. Watch the next video I'll be putting out either today or the following day, and we're going to talk about the alternative to the DPRM. Okay, next we have the Lorcator, as Augie has deemed it here. This is the Lorca custom fire control console, and this is here for the massive almost 4% critical chance. We have also some additional weapons power, 7.9, and we have plus 157.5 Starship shield penetration, which is always nice. And then we have a combo of vulnerability locators and exploiters. So I'm using 1 exploiter and 3 locators. These are all disruptor. These are from your fleet holdings, the Spire. All right, let's keep going here. Let's just look at the stats. So sitting still, this is a Romulan character. I have all Romulan, superior Romulan operatives, and with this build, the way that it's sitting without anything boosted, I do have Strike from Shadows. I don't know if that's giving me anything. I've been sitting out of combat for quite a while. But without anything clicked or anything going here, we're sitting at 55.2 critical chance, 227.3 critical severity. And with some of the other, things that you can have going, I mean, let's click attack pattern alpha here and see what that does. That's jumping us us up to 60% and 277, which is pretty nice there. All right, let's go ahead and look at our skills. So again, pretty much my standard skill tree. This hasn't changed from any of the other videos from the free to play on this character. Attack heavy, obviously, with the ultimate. If you're doing a DPS or tactical build, you want at least the minimum here of your Focus Fury. If you're not getting up to here, then you're wasting points somewhere. You need to be able to have this extra clicky. This is big. Having some of the additional items that come with that make a big difference. We should probably maybe look at a video on going through skill tree here. But I generally, to max it out, I fill everything out except for the defensive maneuvering, because against NPCs, this is making little to no difference whatsoever. If you're going to do PvP, then that's a whole nother discussion, and your whole skill tree is going to look different. But against NPCs, their accuracy ratings are not very high, and I don't want to get into all that accuracy and defense. But basically, it's it's an equation of one over the other. So this just isn't very useful at all. So I'll take these points, put them into something else, and I'm able to max out the tactical line here without filling those up. Specializations, we are running strategists and we are running intel, standard stuff there. Space traits, again, the same as last time. Just going to kind of hover through them here. So we have the defense, adapted defense. And this is giving us additional defensive ratings. We have adapted offense, and this is giving us additional critical chance. That'll stack up over time. Beam training. A good day to die. This is really a must-have for tactical officers. And I'll just touch on it real quick. So a good day to die is going to get rid of the 50% threshold for using... Where is it here? Things look different on my Romulan. Go down fighting. So generally, if you are under 50% hull and you click on go down fighting, you're going to get plus 20 all damage resistance. So trying to keep you alive, but it's going to give you a plus 50% bonus all damage, which is huge. I mean, that's even bigger than clicking your DPRM. Generally, though, you can only use this if your hull is under 50%. By having this ability or this personal space trait, a good day to die, that it unlocks this tactical captain's trait to be available to you anytime, regardless of your hull. So you'll click it, and you have the standard cooldown on it, and that actually looked a little bit faster, but I think that's because of some other things that we have going. So basically, once every minute, you'll be able to click this for a 15-second plus 50 bonus all damage. Again, that's huge. That's bigger than the DPRM. So this goes back to when to click the DPRM, right? So you're going for that alpha strike. You've been waiting. You're clicking your attack pattern alpha. You're clicking on your emergency power to weapons. You're clicking your battery. You're clicking beam overload. And then you're clicking the go down fighting. And then you're clicking your DPRM. You see how that adds up? I mean, you're talking 40% bonus damage, 50% bonus damage. Emergency power to weapons is giving us 16.3 bonus energy weapons damage. And then at the same time, we're also have beam overload going, which is giving us a huge amount of bonus damage as well. So, using that DPRM at the right combination, I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, but I mean, Jesus, you can see how that just really would top off, this power string going through this chain of abilities. Make sure if you're getting that DPRM that you're really kind of do some homework on how to really maximize that. I'd hate for people to get to, the year-long event, get the Atlas, get the DPRM, throw it in, and just be disappointed. They didn't make a wrong choice if they did do that, provided that was the right option with, all the other stuff they have. But, make sure you're really kind of looking at when you should be using that with your build. All right, let's not get too sidetracked here. We have Fleet Coordinator, plus 2 bonus damage for yourself and every other teammate. So our standard TFO, you're going to have an extra 10% bonus damage. We're using Innocuous for the extra critical severity and threat reduction. I have Intelligence Attaché with the new lockbox coming soon. Hopefully, this is going to get much, much cheaper. It is only available in the Vosh lockboxes, or the Picard ones, the latest ones. Once a new one comes out, this will be added to the multi-choice pack and will get much, much cheaper. But this gives on critical hit. It restores 2% of your captain's abilities recharge. So essentially using like this ability here we were just discussing, if I click that and I start getting critical hits, this is going to recharge quickly. And seeing that I have well over 50% critical chance, this is going to recharge quickly. So this is an excellent, excellent personal space trait to have. Next, we have Operative for the extra critical chance, critical severity. Terran Targeting, definitely a must-have. This comes out of the choice packs as well and is reasonable on the exchange, and this is giving us an extra 15% critical severity. And then we have Duelist Fervor, which is giving us plus 5% all damage for 10 seconds, and this is whenever yourself or a teammate kills something, it says, and it stacks up to 3 times. So we get an extra 15% Cat 1 regular damage and some additional accuracy. Personal space traits, these are similar to what we were looking at before with the Odyssey build, Beam Overload. That was a beam array build as opposed to the dual beam bank, but we are using Emergency Weapon Power Cycle. Should be the first trait that you're getting. It was about the 4th on my paid because I didn't know any better. This is a must-have for energy weapon builds. Strike from Shadows, again, another excellent, excellent one. These two are from the top 4 C-Store choices for ship and traits. I don't have the other 2 yet, being that this is my free-to-play account. Next is Super Weapon Ingenuity, and this is extending the duration of beam overload. This comes from the Primate Zindi ship from the Lobby store, which is also one of my top 5 Lobby ships and traits. There's also a video for that. Next item, this comes from Strategist. So your specialization, when you unlock fully Strategist, this will unlock this ability. And this is giving us an extra, or it's giving us a 20% bonus all damage for 15 seconds to this item here, another captain's ability, Brace for Impact. So 20% bonus damage when I click that. And again, we have Intelligence Attaché, which every time we get a critical hit is cooling that down. So this is another one I left out of the power chain description when we were talking through clicking all those things and then your DPRM. Again, you can see how this is just building and building with the DPRM to top it off. Definitely get that unlocked. Next, we have History History Will Remember. So mixing that with Context is for Kings. Anyways, it's early for me. This trait is good. It's mainly a tanking trait, in my opinion, although it fits the build good enough to help, give me a little bit of extra bonus damage and hull regen. It has a great boost for attracting threat, which is not what we want, but that only works when you have threatening stance going. This is mainly here because I don't have anything better to put here in its place, being that this is my free-to-play account and I am limited. So if I had something else, it would be like supercharged weapons, would definitely probably be what I'd put there next, which is every time you fire a torpedo, you're stacking up some, I believe it's critical chance and severity, and some bonus damage. I can't remember all the stats off the top of my head, but it comes from the Tactical Odyssey Tier 6. That's probably would be my next choice. And again, that is one of the C-Store ship recommendations that I have that go along with the 2 ships that these 2 traits come from. All right, moving along here, Space Reputation traits. Again, same as last time. We're doing Precision for the plus 4% critical chance. We are doing the plus 15 critical severity, magnified weapon power, firepower for the plus 5% bonus weapons damage, and the Tyler's Duality for the extra critical chance. And this is critical chance based off of your hull hit points. I don't have anything available. I do have this available. This grabs a little bit of threat, so I don't use it. I do not have all of my rep unlocked here yet, so I'm still lacking on some things I'd really like to have on this free-to-play. I like to use this a lot for the videos, though, because we're able to still do high-end builds, high-end runs with a 100% free-to-play account that doesn't have everything unlocked. So I could use my paid account for a lot of this stuff, you know, and a lot of it is just completely OP, and that's all good, and I'm sure, you know, many of you would probably like to see some of that. It's just I like being able to show off, you know, what you can do if you haven't played for 4 or 5 years and spent a ton of money on the game. I've spent no money on this account, and I'm about 2 years into it now. And this isn't even my first character. This character is about 8 months old. Okay, let's look at stations. Again, pretty straightforward stuff. In the Universal, I am using Science, so I could get a slightly higher level of Photonic Officer. I'm going to kind of prioritize what's important here. A lot of this is filler. So we have Photonic Officer 2. This is for the cooldown. We are using Very Cold in Space. This is for damage over time, area of effect, cold damage. Then we're using Polarized Hull to help give us a little bit of extra damage resistance. Because I don't have some of that personal space, what is it? The rep. Active space reputation stuff. There's a couple things in here I like to use that allow me to drop threat or you know, have a little bit of a cloak in order to avoid taking damage. So in the meanwhile, because that's not available, I'm using some of these other things, which I'd probably use this anyways, just because the ship has a lot of space. You can do a lot with this. Excuse me. All right, so next we have emergency power 2 engines, and this is to proc the duty officer, which we'll go over in a moment. That cools down evasive maneuvers. We're using Let It Go. This is for the damage, or it's not damage, the damage resistance reduction over time. So if you put this especially on a larger enemy, a boss or something like that, you're going to get negative 6.3 all damage resistance rating every second for 20 seconds. So that adds up pretty nicely. It also does cold damage as well. This is a nice combo to pop this on the enemy and then hit them with the Very Cold in Space. Nice little combination to complement, but this is just filler. It's not specific to the build. Next, we have emergency powered weapons, and pretty self-explanatory. This is for the plus 16.3% bonus damage for your beam or energy weapons. Also includes cannons. If you're doing an energy weapon build, this is a priority to have at the highest level you can fit. Sometimes you'll do something lower if you were trying to fit in. Let's say we were doing Ox to Bat. I would still have this here, and then I'd have Ox to Bat here, and this would no longer be Science. It would be Engineering, so I could have another Ox to Bat. Let's say this didn't exist, and I could only put Ox to Bat here and here. I'd still have this, but it would be now in the instant slot. But otherwise, this is a priority. So first is your cooldown is your priority regardless of what your build is. Next is going to be boosting that base energy type. And don't want to jump around too much, but next is going to be your boosting your main firing mode. It needs to be the highest. All right, tactical Lieutenant, we have torpedo spread, since we have the torpedo up front. We have tactical team, which I don't even think I have this slotted because it can interfere with your firing cycle. I do not. It's not even slotted in the build on the tray down here. Next, we have another universal. So this entire thing is universal except for this one commander slot. So, I mean, this ship is very nice that they gave us. It's very versatile for a lot of different kinds of builds. But I have a Science in here, and I have hazard emitters for that heal over time, but it also gives me an extra 3% critical chance every time I click it because of, I believe it's Strategist. And then lastly, we have the Commander tactical seating here. I have filled some of this with just what I had, which was Chemosite 1, Attack Pattern Beta, Beam Overload 3, which is our main firing mode here. And then I have Cannon Scatter Volley. This is just filler. I went with Scatter Volley because it doesn't cool down beam, and I can click it for an extra little speed boost. Probably would make more sense to use Beta 3, get something out of it, and then I could put Cannon Scatter Volley here because the rank doesn't matter for proccing the engine to get the speed boost, but that's just how it was, so I just left it that way. All right, so that is our bridge officer seating. Let's take a quick look at the duty officers. And for the duty officers, first one here for space, we have... What kind of guy is this? It's Tactical Department. He is an energy weapons officer. We have a 50% chance to reduce remaining recharge time by 5 seconds, and this is a chance to reduce time on any beam special attack ability other than subsystem targeting. So this is helping cool down even farther our special firing mode, which I don't even think is really possible. I guess it is in some instances, because Photonic Officer is cooling this down to almost 15 seconds. And then with the trait that we have for beam overload, that's extending this out to another 5 seconds, which gives us basically 100% uptime. You can't cool down more than 50%. So it's 30-second base recharge. 15 seconds is the fastest you can cool it down. And then how you get around that to have it up full time, because the standard duration is 10 seconds on this, is to have the trait that's boosting this up to the 15 seconds with the extra 5. But Photonic Officer runs for 20 seconds and has a 30-second cooldown. So you will run into some time where Photonic Officer is on cooldown but not doing anything for you. So depending on how the stars align, this can be a helpful duty officer to have. If I was running Aux to Bat or something like that, which it's constantly cooling each other down, something like this would not really be necessary at all. And it looks like I'm running 2 of them just to help make sure that my beam overload is always up, because that is my main mode of attack. So the emergency con hologram, this is what I was referring to with having emergency power to engines. Anytime I click emergency power to engines, it is going to cool down evasive maneuvers. I've showed this a million times, but we'll just do it again. There's also a whole video on movement which goes over this as well. But evasive maneuvers, we're zipping all over the map, getting crazy. If we go ahead and click on emergency power to engines, that's going to drop that down to 3 seconds, and it is ready to use again. That's huge. If you can't keep up, you're not going to do any damage. So if you're not going fast, if you're not being able to position, get to where you need to be, especially when you're playing with a team, you may find you get there and everything is dead and you didn't get a chance to get any shots in. It's not because you can't do any damage, it's because you were not there to do any damage. All right, next we have, why is she here? She is a energy weapons officer as well. When you attack a target with beam overload, you have a chance to cause all other attacks against that target to ignore 30% of the target's shields for 4 seconds. Awesome. So that makes a lot of sense with this build. That's why it's there. And I'm not sure where that came from. If you know where she came, because she's what, a Suliban? They come from like Romulan packs? It's Federation. Well, if you know, let me know. I could look it up, but you guys tend to be pretty knowledgeable and probably be able to tell me before I look it up and find it. And then lastly, we have a chance to reduce time for all emergency power to subsystem abilities to recharge after use. So this is giving us 25% chance to recharge time to be reduced by 30%, and that would be basically both of these items here. So emergency power to weapons and emergency power to engines. So you can see how this all kind of synergizes, right? It's a whole big circle. Everything's feeding and boosting each other and then circling around to cool each other back down. So I'm running evasive maneuver. I click on this to recharge it when that's done with it. It obviously doesn't work now, but that's also dropping the shared cooldowns on these. If I click then next emergency power to weapons, we have a 30% chance to knock the recharge time of that back down, which allows us to then go ahead and let's see if it works. It didn't proc, but if we had a couple more or give them the chance right, but that would cool down this ability, which would then allow us to cool down this ability faster after we click it. And in any case, that's synergizing. Good example there. Okay, so that is our duty officers. What else do we need to look at here? I think that pretty much covers everything. Just to show you for full disclosure, my endeavors are not that high. They are high in the places I want them, but with the expansion they just did to this, we have more work to do now, which is great. More opportunity to boost up that crit chance, crit severity, and everything else that we love. Let's go ahead and do a run here. Take a look at the parse, go over that real quick. And let's see how this build does. Be right back, guys. All right, we are back with the parse. So this was just a pug run. I don't know any of these people here. This did pretty damn good. Just shy of 180K on a free-to-play account. It's 2 years old with an 8-month-old tune. Really can't beat that. 180. I'm extremely happy with that. Let's take a look at just some of the stats here. At the very beginning, I almost died, and luckily we were able to kill that last sphere just before it was able to kill me. So that was somewhat lucky, but at the end of the day, the ship performed, and it was able to take that down before it finished the job. So we did a total of 30 million damage. So we had 60% of that damage out. I'm sure I probably took most of the damage there as well. Yeah, so we did damage in 31, almost 32% on a Raider. That was a little bit tough there. Looks like we had one death in the team. So let's look at the chart here. Like normal, pretty good size boost at the front. And the reason that you'll always see this large boost at the front is because that's the only one time, unless you're extremely disciplined and you're just kind of not triggering things through parts of the run, is that at the very beginning, you're basically stacking every single ability that you have, short of some of the clickies you're saving. So like the DPRM, I didn't click until the very end. So, but you can see even clicking it at the very end, you only have a slight little boost. So again, the DPRM, when you click that, it is not a make or break your build. It's a nice little extra boost here. When we jumped probably, what, 20K or so, a little bit under that boost. Maybe 10K boost from just running that by itself. Had I, say, eased up off the space bar at the gate, waiting for, say, the sphere, for a few of these abilities to be recharged, and then I went ahead and activated all of those, and then the DPRM, we would have saw a much larger boost. Or say I had used the DPRM at the very beginning, which, with how long this run went, I could have done that. I probably should have done that. I should probably do that on pretty much all pug runs. Most of them are going to take at least 2 minutes, which is the recharge time. Every now and then, though, you'll rip through one that goes a lot faster, and then you can't use it at the end. But if it's going that fast, it really doesn't matter anyways. But had I clicked the DPRM at the beginning, you would have seen these numbers probably getting just over 300K for that initial peak, since everything was all being boosted there at the beginning. Let's take a look at the breakdown here, just so we can get an idea of what did what. We won't go real deep into this. It's not a real complicated build, so I mean, as you can see on my list, I mean, there's not a lot of abilities. So our dual beam banks obviously did the most. There's 3 of those that's splitting between at 58K. Sultan Wave Impeller did excellent. I mean, look at that, 25K. So I mean, that Sultan Wave Impeller actually did the most damage for any one weapon on the ship here. Next, we have the wide angle. So this came in at second as a single weapon, doing the second most damage by itself. Because this is almost at 60K. So these did almost 20K damage, each of the dual beam banks up front, the 3 of them. So still not bad, but these 2 weapons did very well. Our House Martok Omni in the back did respectable at almost 15K, so not bad at all. Then you can see what some of this stuff did. Without being under fire at will, or I'm sorry, beam overload 3. Our torpedo spread, dark matter torpedoes did pretty good at 11K. We had some action with the pets. We'll have to look and see what exactly that is. Chemosite didn't do half bad at almost 7K. Our dark matter dissolution, this is the damage over time that your dark matter torpedo does at 6K about, respectively, which isn't bad either. Let it go. These tend to don't do a lot of damage. It's really the debuff that we're looking for from those abilities. And again, these are mainly fillers. So depending on how the ship is built, for me, these are not priorities, but they're nice little extras if you have room you need to fill up. Pets. What do we have for pets? So cryonic turbulence. This comes from, is it very cold in space? I always get these 2 abilities mixed up. So this is our, that let it go. I get them mixed up. Let's just look so we can make sure we are speaking accurately about that. Very cold in space. All right, Jesus. So that's what the cryonic turbulence is from, and that actually stacked up to added up to be a decent amount of damage from having that clicky, especially when you're stacking it with Let It Go, because Let It Go is also doing cold damage, but it's breaking down the damage resistance of the target as well, and then you have this damage over time sitting on top of it. And then we have our Nimbus Distress Call, which is pets that are able to be called in. I tend to miss that a lot because it is not in the build, and let's just talk about that here. So parse looks good, super happy with the way that turned out. Let's talk about this part real quick. So this comes from the Wasteland arc. I believe it's the last mission in the Wasteland arc. If you are a ROM character, this will be in your mission journal. If you are not, you will need to slot it from the available tab, or you'll need to go to Nimbus and talk to the guy at the gate, and you'll have to play through that mission arc. There's 5 or 6 missions. The last one, you can get this as a mission drop, and what it does is it calls in some Nimbus pirates. They heal you. They also do quite a bit of damage to the bad guys. The reason this is missed quite a bit here is because you do not have to have it slotted in your device tray. There's a few things that you do not have to have in here in order to use. Kobayashi Maru you do, which is really kind of an exception, but most of the other things that you can get that are, clickable call-in devices like that, you can actually leave them in your inventory, but they'll still show up in your abilities list, and you can slot it onto your tray for use. So this tends to be on every single one. Well, it is on every single one of my builds because it doesn't take up any slots on your ship. So this is a great little clicky to have. We should probably just make a whole short separate video on how to go about getting this, because for Fed it got a little more complicated because they took that arc out of the Fed storyline. So it is here, Wasteland, and I believe it is Installation 18 is where that comes from. Again, you can still play it. Yes, here it is. You can still play it if you are a Fed character. It's just not in your arc. So you either have to look in your available tab, and you have to progress through a certain amount of it. And we'll have to look that up. If somebody knows, just go ahead and comment. But it's, you go through like some of the first missions. If you're all the way getting into like the Solanae, Dyson Sphere, Delta, then you're good to go. Just go to Nimbus, go right through the entrance of the gate, and hang a hard right. You'll see a guy standing there, and you can pick up the first mission from him and play through all of these until you get to the end. There's some pretty cool stuff you can get from these, and it's a great mission arc. I'm kind of bummed they took it out of the standard arc for Fed, but whatever, it's still there, so you can still access it. So I definitely recommend getting that. All right, guys. So I think that finishes this video up for the Alliance Temer Raider. I hope that's helpful. As soon as I get done with this, I'm going to go ahead and make it's going to be a fairly quick video, just comparing some alternatives an alternative for the DPRM. And we'll take a look at the results I got from the parse. You'll notice that when I was looking at the parse, there was one right above it because I slotted that other choice and ran it and parsed that, and I was pretty surprised there by the results. So be on the lookout for that. That should be out shortly after this video here comes out. I do not have a written build for this yet. I will add it. It's just not going to happen, I don't think, by the time I put this video up. I just don't have time at the moment, unfortunately, but I will be periodically updating the website, which is mcstew.live, with the builds that I'm putting up here. So everything that I'm putting up going forward, I'll have a written build for it. It may not always coincide with when the video goes live, but it is on the list, and then I'll slowly be adding up some of the things from the past, adding the written text versions of those builds as well. All right, guys. Well, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them down in the comments. If you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and hit that button and ring the bell. I'd super duper appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe, and thank you very much for watching.